home buyers, I've had quite a few people contact me just after the new year this year to ask, hey Amy, is now a good time to buy? Well, yes it is, and I'll tell you why. So I'll start by saying that typically every year I get at least one text or a phone call on either Christmas Eve or Christmas from a buyer saying, hey, ready to shop. And that's kind of when it starts for me, the frenzy of the upcoming new year. This year, I didn't receive any calls until probably about a week after the first of the year, so it's definitely slowed down a little bit. But let me tell you a little bit about what the market was like a year ago for home buyers versus the way it is now. And it's actually quite a bit better for buyers, so hear me out. Last year, at the beginning of 2022, when I was going through, the list of things that my home buyer would need, it included, hey guys, you need to have quite a bit of money stashed, and I'll tell you why. We had a hot market for a very, very long time. Because of COVID, they reduced the rates, to rock bottom, to where it would be silly not to buy a house. Money was practically free. And my buyers would have to have their own down payment because most agents who represented sellers didn't want to accept any offers where there was down payment assistance. Because sometimes that can be a little bit iffy for closing purposes. So they needed their own down payment. They needed to have their own closing costs. And those are about $10,000. They can be a tiny bit more, they can be a tiny bit less. It depends on what you're purchasing and what program you're in. They also needed to have 22 AD money. That's what we call it. It's basically appraisal gap waiver money. And it's just saying, hey seller, if the house doesn't appraise for my offer of say 625, I will soften the blow by offering you this much. And a lot of times it would be between, I've seen as little as $10,000 being accepted, but as much as $50,000. And really what I saw as a listing agent more often than not was about $20,000 to $25,000 for appraisal gap money. So buyers really needed to have quite a bit of cash to bring to the table. And honestly, if you didn't have $30,000+ to kind of wave at the wind, more than likely you didn't get the house. Not in Pierce County, it was just too hot. Most of the homes I listed received between 8 and 12 offers. It was pretty obscene before interest rates shot up and things started slowing down a little bit. So now we're in a more normalized market, and that's very good for both parties. It was really great for sellers as long as it lasted, but that's not really typical. So now what I'm seeing is more people using down payment assistance. Last year, the competition was so stiff that a lot of people with down payment assistance wouldn't win the multiple offer scenario. But now sellers are just so happy to receive an offer. Agents are happy that the clients that they represent are getting an offer, and more often than not, they're not really concerned about the loan program as long as obviously the buyer is able to close. Now the buyer these days doesn't have to bring as much money to the table. If they don't have their own closing costs, they can ask the seller to absorb them. And again, that's, about 10 grand, give or take, depending on the loan program that they're in and who's doing the loan. The other thing is that, maybe the seller doesn't want to absorb all of them, but you can have your agent negotiate that they cover at least a portion of them, or a seller may allow for you to raise the cost of the house to cover the closing costs, and it can just be a part of your mortgage. But what I've been seeing lately is that more sellers are willing to cover those closing costs. Not all sellers, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And the competition is not stiff anymore. Usually it's maybe an offer. If there's a home that the price seems too good to be true, well, it's because it is. They purposely set the price low to make sure that everybody comes to the bidding table. And so in those situations, you may have to, have a better offer so that you can win that. And that would probably include having your own closing costs. The other thing is inspections. I think it's very, very important to have a home inspection, but unfortunately, the 3 years that things were pretty crazy out here, people weren't allowed to do that. The buyers were waiving their inspections right and left, and it's not a good thing to do. Some of my buyers did do that, but I would let them know the pros and the cons of it. The pro is that you might win the multiple offer situation. But the con is you don't know what you're walking into. Now they could do a pre-inspection, and I did have some buyers that did that, but that's also several $100s out of your pocket, and you're not even guaranteed to have the winning offer. So it just wasn't really great for buyers. Well, now most sellers will allow for you to have an inspection, and not only that, you can negotiate repairs that the home needs. And it's just wonderful. It's a more even playing field. It's better for buyers, and for sellers, it can be good too. You know, yeah, maybe they have to make a few repairs before the deal is closed, but most sellers are going to be purchasing another home. So it's nice that not only will another seller more than likely accept their contingent offer, but in addition to that, they too can negotiate different things with their transaction. And I just think it's great. So if you are looking to buy or sell, go ahead and reach out to me. My team and I are here to help you, even if you just have real estate related questions. We cover all of Pierce County, King County, Thurston County, and we also cover Grays Harbor. And if you ever need anything, just reach out.